The college football experience. Bronco Mendenhall to Utah State and Jason Eck to New Mexico episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up over at UnderdogFantasy.com and use our promo code TCESGPN. You get up to $1,000 in bonus credits. And remember, as always, to let it ride.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Bronco Mendenhall to Utah State and Jason Eck to the New Mexico Lobos episode. But wanted to do this episode for a while. YouTube.com/the college experience. Obviously, these guys were hired a couple months ago. But, hosted the college basketball experience podcast, a nightly show too. A lot of stuff, it's hard to balance everything, but this episode long overdue, but still in time. We're still in the coaching, college football. There's been like 3 coaching changes in the past couple of weeks. So it's always topical, I guess, until the first game is kicked off in August 28th, I think it is. YouTube.com/the college experience. If you're wondering who the hell, you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swing at Database Dan, AKA Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Oh, I love me some Mountain West action. You can find me at Mountain West Media Days in Vegas every year with a cocktail. Not in my hand when I'm interviewing, but shortly before, perhaps. Very excited to talk about both these coaches, both these programs, as I think it's just the Mountain West. I'm almost sad to see we only get one more year of the Mountain West for the Pac-12 takes Utah State out of there. Once again, like I said, youtube.com/the college experience. Get on over there, hit that like and subscribe button. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former staffer at Austin P, South Carolina and West Virginia. Give it up for Ryan McIntyre, a.k.a. Money Line Mac. How are you, brother?
Utah State, I was thinking about this. We're used to covering a basketball search. So they did a football search this time around. New Mexico fans, you had a search on both fronts. So let's go. Let's talk about it.
Mac tonight. Come on, make it Mac tonight.
Yeah, and I think, New Mexico, a lot of it had to do. The Patino thing in basketball, I just think Xavier caught and Pops is in that conference. He's an East Coaster. Yep. But the Mendenhall thing is very intriguing because I think a lot of it had to do maybe for Patino as well. But they had they had no athletic director for a little bit. They lost an AD. They didn't have one for a little bit, and then they just landed one who I think has done an outstanding job in a short amount of time. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, man, we got one more year of the Mountain West as we know it, right? Which I think is a very, very compelling. Yeah, I have a little bit of Heartbreak Hotel for this thing switching up, man. As much as I love Wazoo and Oregon State, but I look around this conference. I was building the schedules today, youtube.com, hop over there. We got the slides rolling in a minute here, but I'm sitting there looking at this conference from a coaching point of view, right? Jason Eck, who comes from the FCS, did a great job at Idaho.
Yep.
Right. You're like, you got that. Okay. Troy Calhoun, I think one of the best coaches in college football, period, at Air Force. Jay Norvell finally got Colorado State kick-started. He was great previously at Nevada. Jeff Choate at Nevada did a great. I thought, even though they had a losing record, great first year, passed the eye test to me. Almost beat SMU in the opener, who ended up in the playoffs. Dan Mullen now at UNLV. Dan Mullen's a guy that's won everywhere he's been as a head coach. Then you go Sean Lewis, year 2 at San Diego State. I think it's going to work out there. It's just tough transition from year 1. Ken Niumatalolo's been, talking about he's a great coach too, but he's been talking about how good he thinks the San Jose State team could be. Matt Entz comes into Fresno State. He won multiple national championships at North Dakota State. Timmy Chang, I think, is going to have his best year yet at Hawaii. And then you got Spencer Danielson there at Boise State. And obviously Wyoming needs a little work, but I'm saying, damn, the conference got some heat, man, as far as coaching. As far as I'm concerned, I think all those guys can coach. Now, jury's still out, with Salvell at Wyoming, but I'm saying everyone else, I'm just like, they could coach.
Oh, absolutely. You stole it right from me. I was looking. I was like, man, they got some good coaches in this league and some guys that have won in other places. And then maybe for whatever reason, they just ran their course and it's time for a new opportunity here. Mendenhall has been as good as anybody in college football from a consistency standpoint at hard jobs. He did a great job at Virginia. He was great at BYU, and he was going to be good at New Mexico. Mullen, he had success at Mississippi State. Florida, they got rid of him. Obviously, Kenny, his time at Navy, he got a raw deal at the end of there. Sean Lewis looks better and better every day with Kent State's demise here. And then the list goes on and on. So, yeah, definitely a coaches league. It does suck. I do like that they're going to merge with Wazoo and Oregon State and get those matchups, but I do like the Mountain West.
Yeah. Shout out to Rick Baum, my guy. You heard him on many of our Air Force previews. As you can see the photo right there, he's been covering Air Force and been a part of, I know he's worked with a lot of the former players and just, he's a hell of a good guy. He's looking forward to seeing these two coaches go against his Falcons this year. And Rick was on it last year. And I got to give Rick his credit because, every year we've had him on the previews, we've been friends with him for a while. And, normally he's always on the over. Because Troy Calhoun is, by the way, is a legendary coach for hitting the overs. Last year he was like, no, don't. And I was like, you're crazy. It's Troy Calhoun. He never has really shitty seasons, but he was right. He said they lost everybody, but I know Troy Calhoun. He'll be back. So buckle up. And I'm sure Rick probably knows that already. Looking forward to talking to you in the coming months, Rick. Also shout out to John. It says, let's go round 2. Once again, you can be a part of this chat, youtube.com/the college experience. We just talked about Nico Iamaleava to UCLA, the Tennessee quarterback, if I can't pronounce his name. So go check out that episode. We've been breaking stuff down. We did a state of the program with Virginia Tech on yesterday's episode. Every night, 9:00 p.m. Eastern. During the weekdays, Monday through Thursday there. So check those out. But we also did, we did a slew of episodes this week. So go check all of them. But yeah, here we are, Bronco Mendenhall. If you caught this show last year, I thought New Mexico getting him was the best job. Like if any coach, I said, man, that's a home run. That's a grand fucking slam. Right. And I did not expect him to be one and done. Even with me interviewing him in Vegas, I got to meet Bronco Mendenhall and talk to him. And so I was a bit surprised. But then you find out that he grew up just 5-10 minutes outside of Logan, Utah. But I'm going to put up some slides on why I just think in general, I think he's one of the best coaches in college football. And I think he'll get it going. But yes, if you're not familiar, Bronco Mendenhall, he grew up outside of Logan. He played actually at Snow College there in Utah for a couple of years before transferring to Oregon State. Played defensive back at Oregon State. Was a longtime assistant for Rocky Long, who Rocky Long invented the 3-3-5 defense, which so many teams use nowadays. In my opinion, there's like 3 OG defensive coordinators over the past 40 years, and that's Bud Foster, Gary Patterson, and Rocky Long that are they're like in a league of their own. Well, Mendenhall comes from that school of coaching. Obviously, Rocky Long. We'll talk about New Mexico in a second. He's a legend in Albuquerque. But Bronco Mendenhall has been a head coach for 18 years. 16 of the 18 years as a head coach, his teams have been bowling. Very impressive there. Career record of 140 and 88. I'm going to go through and talk about why I think this is I'm just going to carry on what I said a year ago, transfer it over to this. Shouldn't be a surprise if you've been listening this long, but what do you think of this hire? Because I mean, you want to talk about, to me, like Grand Slam. This is it right here. For me. What do you make of this hire here in Logan?
Home run. Last year they were supposed to be awful at New Mexico, and he almost got him to a bowl game. And they started 0-4 because it took him a couple games. And if they had not blown that freaking first game against Montana State the way they did, they would have got to a bowl. But yeah, I mean. You mentioned it. He knows the area. His time at BYU, 3 or 4 straight 10+ win seasons, 3 out of the 4 winning 11, having that program in the top 20. And then he hands it off to Sataki. So I just think that he's won wherever he's gone. Had Virginia as a 9-win team in the Orange Bowl in 2019. I mean, this is Virginia we're talking about. And then he was going to win it in New Mexico. And I thought he flipped it in year number 1. They automatically became a tougher team just because Mendenhall was coaching them. And they just look well prepared. So Utah State, I think you fans out there should be ecstatic, bringing home one of your own.
And now there's a chance to go to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like yeah. Boise got to the playoffs a year ago. So now you're thinking there's a path. You got to coach that. To me, I mean, and Utah State as a program historically, since 2012, get this, since 2012, they have had 5 9-win seasons or better. And 4 of those were double-digit win seasons, 3 of them being 11-win seasons. So the program is in good hands. And then you add in a coach that, I know, and I sat down with Nate Drilling, who was the interim coach last year, and it was a tough situation he got thrown into. So it was kind of chaotic over the past 2 years, really, to land Mendenhall, who, because at the time, I had gotten tipped off that they might be hiring, they're going to try to get him, and I thought, man, I didn't realize he was from right outside of there, but I thought when I talked to him, so I sat down with Mendenhall and I was like, dude, you left Virginia. You went back to your ranch in Montana. You left Virginia like in a good spot. Virginia would love to have you. They'd probably give you a lifetime contract. Why? What happened? Like why? And then I know he had previously been a DC under Rocky Long in New Mexico back in the early 2000s or late 90s. So I was like, but why New Mexico? I feel like you can get a much better gig. And he just said, well, why not? He goes, I don't need money in my life. I have money. But I was on I think the words he said, I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm saying I just ride my horse every day. And I thought, I love doing what I do. And that is teaching and coaching football to young kids. So he was like, I didn't come here for the money. I came here for the challenge. And because I have an affiliation with the university. And I thought that's what made me believe that he was going to stay. But I did hear, obviously they lost their athletic director along that ride that year. So maybe that, because I from what I had heard through some people close to the program was like, there was uncertainty with the athletic department. So and then it was his hometown team. But I mean, I'm pretty shocked because Mendenhall doesn't strike me as the type of guy to do a one and done. How shocked were you at him just 1 year at New Mexico and then boom, off to Logan?
Yeah, it kind of screamed that something wasn't right there. And then worth noting, it's also not his first stint in the Mountain West, because BYU was in that Mountain West once upon a time, and that's when they were really, really rolling. So, yeah, I was a little bit surprised. But then when I started digging more, I mean, he coached at BYU. He loves the state of Utah. He grew up just right down the road from Logan. It kind of started to make more sense. And I would say Utah State's a better job than New Mexico in the Mountain West, all things considered. So, I mean, you think about it, they've had pros in the NFL. I mean, Jordan Love just recently over the last 5 years.
Yeah, Chris Cooley. You remember Chris Cooley, the Redskins tight end there. Yeah.
Like they've had guys in the NFL, and they just got to get the right guy. And I think Mendenhall's the right guy to get this program back to. I mean, I expect Utah State to be in a bowl game every year. I think this is a program that should win 6+ games every year and then challenge for that Mountain West championship every 3-4 years at least.
Yeah. Oh, which pack will be Pac-12, but yeah, I mean, I get your point, but,
whatever league we're in, I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever league we got with this realignment stuff, but look, I'm going to talk more about that in a second, but I want to let people know. Yeah. Bobby Wagner, another one from Utah State, folks, want to let you know that the college football experience, Bronco Mendenhall and Jason Eck episode is brought to you by, us. Yes, we are part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And, the NBA playoffs are here, and SGPN is running another free contest. Pick every NBA playoff game ATS. That's against the spread. $1,000 first place prize on the line. Winner take all. Enter today, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA playoffs. Once again, that is sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA playoffs. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Yeah, you ever had your deposit blocked by your bank right before a big bet? I have, right? Ever needed cash at 2 a.m. for another shot at the tables, but hit your ATM limit? I have. Well, guess what? Edge Boost has your back. They will fix all of that for you because Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors. Edge Boost gives you fast, reliable access to your funds, essentially making it easier to move money when and wherever you need it without the delays that come with the traditional banks. And for you high rollers, you can move up to $250,000 a day on your Edge Boost Visa debit card with unlimited withdrawals, 24/7 for instant deposits. Never, ever wait for a wire transfer to clear ever again. And it gets better every time you use, you deposit into a qualified gambling account, you earn cashback rewards up to 5% there. All this for no usage fees, no minimum balance. They don't even do a credit check for you. All right. They just verify your identity and boom, you're good to go. So get on over to Edge Boost. Get on over to www.edgeboost.bet. Use our promo code SGPN. Once again, that's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN, and let it ride. We're also brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every single sport, including the NBA playoffs. We got UFL football, NHL playoffs. Plus, there's props for every game. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of different locations as well. You can easily deposit, get lightning fast payouts using crypto. So what are you doing? Head on over there. MyBookie.ag. Use our promo code too. That's TCESGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply, of course. That's MyBookie.ag. Promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back talking college football experience. The chat is rocking. Shout out to John. Shout out to AOD, Patrick Burns, Rick Baum, everybody there in the chat. And a good day to you. But yeah, to me, back to Mendenhall to Utah State. I'm going to show you on some slides here why he's like the perfect, to me, he's one of the best coaches in all of college football. I'm not talking Mountain West. I believe he's one of the best coaches in all of college football. This is his first stint at BYU. The red is before he got there. So he goes into BYU back in 2006, but the 3 years prior, BYU had 5 wins in 2002, 4 wins in 2003, 5 wins in 2005. And he shows up 6 wins in year 1. And then boom, year 2, 11 wins, year 3, 11 wins, year 4, 10 wins. And then he carried it on after that even more. But the guy just comes in and puts his culture, and it gets his culture going, and boom, and then look what he did at Virginia. Similar. Virginia, the 3 years prior to him, 2013, 2 wins, 2014, 5 wins, 2015, 4 wins. He comes in year 1. He only wins 2 wins in year 1. And a lot of that to me was because it was a major philosophical overhaul. The style of defense he runs completely different than what Virginia ran prior with Mike London. Same with the offensive point of view. So 2 wins year 1, but then 6, then 8, then 9. They haven't had a 9-win season prior to that in forever. That's what he does. And then obviously you saw last year in New Mexico, the years prior, 3 wins in 21, 2 in 22, 4 in 23, 5 damn near went bowling And that's why it's kind of like, damn, New Mexico. If you're a New Mexico fan, you're like, man, we lost Bronco Mendenhall, but the guy just flat out wins, man. So going into this year with Utah State, and I know we'll do our Utah State team preview later, but I do have the schedule in front of us. And one of the things I was looking at too was just how many he's bringing over a slew of players from New Mexico.
Yep.
As you know, you so commonly see with a bunch of these coaches coming in, they kind of bring a lot of their team with them. So I'm just wondering how fast. I don't think you're going to get a 2-win Virginia season here. Like Virginia, so part of why he was able to win 5 games at New Mexico last year and should have been 6 with that Montana State game you talk about, was that they ran similar stuff to him. When he can walk into a place where they run similar stuff, I feel like, you know, it's just, you can kind of hit the ground running a little bit. Virginia was in such a crazy spot that it took a little bit more. But you look at what they've done in the portal. I mean, first off, they brought in I feel like 30 guys, but a lot of them, New Mexico guys, a few guys from UCLA, Arizona, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, BYU. How fast do you think they will get it going? Do you think you chalk this one up to well, this will be a growing pains year, or are we just going to be a bowl team right away?
I think they're going to be a bowl team right away, because I would treat it more like his year 2s, because he's bringing over the continuity that has already played for defensive coordinator to Nick Howell. And I know he has a different offensive coordinator, but you dig deep on Kevin McGivern. He played for him at Louisiana Tech, but also he was the GA at BYU with him while Bronco was at BYU. So there's already continuity with the staff, and then he's bringing over all those transfers from New Mexico. If I'm Utah State, man, I'm kind of looking at that year 2. And that's what was so impressed about the year 1 at New Mexico is it wasn't a traditional year number 1 last year. It wasn't that bottom 2 win. They're going to be horrible. I think it kind of was year 2 almost in between at the end of year 1 and year 2. So Utah State could be a sleeper team in this league, because we've seen Mendenhall's teams get better and better because they always have an identity. They're going to play a tough, physical brand of football. On the offensive side, they're going to run the ball. Just ask Mac Brown in Texas. And then defensively, they just get better and better. So, yeah, man, I like this team, man. Or I like the staff at least.
Yeah, and you look at, and like I said, we will do a team preview. We preview every single team on the college football experience, all 136 each and every year we do this. But the schedule, they open up home to UTEP, who is ironically one of the teams replacing Utah State when they leave the Mountain West. So it's kind of compelling storyline in that one. Then they are off to College Station to take on Mike Elko. And I always wonder, Mendenhall against Elko. I don't know if Mendenhall will have the team in that shape yet, but I'm fascinated by it still. Air Force coming to Logan week 3, McNeese State coming to Logan week 4, their FCS. Then at Vanderbilt. I mean, Bronco, I didn't know you wanted to get pissed on. Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt. That's going to be intriguing. That's a sleepy game, I bet, for Vanderbilt too. They better watch. They better watch out, man.
For that, I'll look that up while you keep running through it.
Yeah. Then they had this is a crazy back-to-back away, by the way. You go to Nashville and then you go to Honolulu to take on Timmy Chang in Hawaii. Then actually there's a bye week between those two. So then you're home to San Jose State and Niumatalolo. Then the game that had people pissed, a lot of New Mexico fans couldn't believe Mendenhall left after 1 year. Well, he's got to go back to Albuquerque week 9 to take on Jason Eck and the New Mexico Lobos. Then they come back home to Logan to take on Nevada. Then they're look at the final 3 games, man. At UNLV, at Fresno, home to Boise. Woo! Woo! Now I'll tell you this. I don't know that he in year 1 that he's going for a Mountain West championship, but I can tell you this. He might be able to ruin someone's aspirations of a Mountain West championship with those 3 final games right there. That's a tough schedule though, man. When you look at it, like you want Wyoming on the schedule, I would say, I guess you get You probably want New Mexico on the schedule just because they're, rebounding. You probably want. I mean, I don't know. I guess every team in the Mountain West. I mean, I just know you would want Wyoming for sure on the schedule. They're not on the schedule. Maybe you make a case you want San Diego State. I'm not sure. But that's a kind of a ball buster of a schedule, man. The only for sure wins I see, and I don't even know if I say UTEP's for sure with it being week 1, is McNeese State. Every other game's like a game to me. Now I'm sure it's Mendenhall who'll find ways to beat some of these teams. Maybe New Mexico and McNeese as the ones you circle. But that's a ball buster of a schedule. If blindly I'll say he's probably going to be in a bowl game. But when you go game by game, it's a fucking hard challenge, man.
Yep. Yeah. The bright spot I would say is that it's backloaded. So, Mendenhall's teams will get better throughout the year. So maybe they can stay in the hunt here and find ways to win, even if they're not playing their best ball. And then they could pick off a UNLV or Fresno at the end. Boise will be tough as well. They might be in the race at the end because they don't play those top 3 teams right there till the very, very end. So they may have an outside shot of getting in this race down the stretch.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, honestly, that stretch of Hawaii, San Jose, New Mexico, Nevada wouldn't shock me if he won any of those games. He could win all 4 of those. He could also, I will say, San Jose State, Niumatalolo's talking very confidently, which I've already taken note of this offseason, being like, how he's not the type of guy to brag.
His coordinator's at Utah State now.
Yeah. Which is he's a beast, by the way. I'm trying to remember the name of the spread. Is it the spread and the shred offense?
Yes.
Yeah. That's one that it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to watch that. But overall, what do you grade this hire? I think this is an A+ to me. If out of all the hires, I don't know that there is one that I think more highly of than this one. I'd put it right there with every other really good hire that I think has happened this year. Maybe even on top of that. You?
It's definitely up there. It's an A. It's a hire that Utah State had to make. I mean, they'd taken a couple steps back. I know they had the weird coaching change in the middle of the summer and that whole fiasco. But I would give this an A. Bronco's won wherever he's gone, and he won in New Mexico or turned that thing around and left it way better than he found it. And BYU, we talked about his track record back at home. I think he'll do a great job.
Yeah, I can't wait. Now, I think the more compelling side of this episode, because I think everyone that's listened to us, we've been doing this shit for 8 years. So everyone listening knows Dundee loves Mendenhall. Of course he's going to be high on it. Yeah, I am. I am really high on it. But it's the other side of this one that I think is the real compelling one. And that's what the New Mexico Lobos will do. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But before I do that, I do want to let the good people know that the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. I've been playing the UFL Underdog Fantasy, and obviously we just played a bunch of the college basketball. I know they're our sponsor, but I say this in general. They're awesome. You can find an edge you cannot find elsewhere. And they have every sport, MLB, NHL, MMA, PGA, everything you could think of, they have. So hop on over there, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN. That's our promo code, and you'll be able to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm is your home for AI backed picks and props. My CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer. That's Rhythm is killing it in that regard. Look, they just dropped their model for Major League Baseball. They've already got the models out for NBA and golf. We use the college basketball one all the time. Really, the picks so good it feels like cheating, folks. And look, building your model is simple and easy, and that's what's cool is it offers an element for you to build. You can copy somebody if you wanted to, but I like building my own model. I think it's fantastic. You can build your own stuff on what you like and what you pay attention to. So check it out. Rhythm has some amazing deals going on as well. 25% off monthly subscription with the promo code SGPN25 and 50% off the annual subscription with the promo code SGPN50 over at Rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's Rhythm, promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. All right, we are back. And let's talk about the hire going on in Albuquerque. So I must admit, I've been saying this probably before I even had the podcast. If you pay attention, if you were friends with me, you would know that I'd be like, New Mexico should be good. They don't have any pro sports. Why can't they just be really good? They should be a lot better. You're surrounded by Texas and Arizona. You got talent there, why can't you be any good? Well, and part of me, maybe because I remember the Rocky Long era where Rocky Long had that thing going, right? I remember them beating Texas Tech and beating, some good schools. I think they got UCLA one year. But after Rocky Long, they hired Mike Loxley, which was a disaster. He was 3-33 in 3 years, which is almost unbelievable. And then, Bob Davie, they hired Bob Davie, the former Notre Dame assistant. He got him the 2 bowls in 2015 and 16. So it wasn't a horrible job, but it wasn't a good job either. And then my guy, Danny Gonzalez, I love Danny Gonzalez, great guy, but he just couldn't get it going. Mendenhall, I thought it was the guy. I was like, finally, they're going to build up the culture. And then he's one and done. Heartbreaking. I genuinely felt horrible when I saw, I was like, man, what happened there? They had the coach that they needed to really become a football school. You know what I mean? And now he's gone. But I'll say this: they went out and hired the AD, which I'm drawing a blank on the name right now. Let me see if I can quickly find the new AD's name. But he's done a great job. We saw the basketball hire, which I know we're going to be talking about later tonight. But I really liked. He lost Patino, but he went out and hired a good basketball coach that I think, in a way, could be a blessing in disguise. I believe is it Fernando Lovo? I believe used to be
Eddie Nunez. Yeah.
Yes, Fernando Lovo, who actually I think this hire will really work out. He came, from the coaching hire, but also the athletic director hire. He was with Chris Del Conte at Texas, and I know Del Conte was previously at TCU and stuff. Did a great job there. And before that was a sports agent. I think it's a really, really good hire. And he's proven it already to me, I thought it was a great basketball hire. And then the football hire. Jason Eck is a guy. I host the FCS College Football Experience, and I highly encourage you to check that out. But I think this dude is a fucking really good football coach. So Idaho had kind of lost their way, right? Idaho football had kind of lost their way. It used to be FBS. They were in the shit. I saw them live in the Sun Belt. They used to be a part of the Sun Belt, which is just incredible to think about. But they'd kind of lost their way. They had gone back to the FCS. They had Bobby Petrino's brother at one point. It just wasn't. It was just kind of bleak times in Moscow. And then they went out and hired this guy, Jason Eck. And you're just saying, well, okay, Jason Eck, but if you do a deep dive on him, you're like, okay, this guy was an offensive lineman for Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin. But don't think about Wisconsin now. Think about Wisconsin in the 90s, folks. He's from Wisconsin. Wisconsin was a power running team with Ron Dane, Brent Moss, Terrell Fletcher, all these guys, right? That was like the epitome of just a badass offensive lineman. And he was one of these guys on Barry Alvarez's, team that played ball for him. So not only did he play for Barry Alvarez, he then coached a couple years with Barry Alvarez, and then with Gary Barnett at Colorado before the wheels fell off at Colorado when they were winning, when they were going to the Fiesta Bowl, Chris Brown and Bobby Purify and everything. Okay. He learned from Barry Alvarez and Gary Barnett. That's fantastic right there. But then you look at his track record. He then went to Idaho as an assistant, then Winona State, then Ball State, then Hampton, then Western Illinois, then Minnesota State, but then Montana State and South Dakota State, who have been absolute blue bloods in the FCS. Idaho takes a shot on this guy, right? And you're thinking, okay, I don't know. Let's see how this works out. But I mean, just to give you an idea, folks, they were 4-7 the year before he arrived in Moscow. They were 2-4 the year before that. They were 5-7 the year before that. 4-7 the year before that. 4-8, and those are in the FCS too. Those are in the FCS. He walks in year 1, 7-5 FCS playoffs berth. Year 2, 9-4 FCS playoff berth. Then that year they lost their best quarterback. He transferred out to Oregon State. They couldn't match the NIL. They lost like 3 or 4 of their best players. The next year, 10-4 FCS playoffs. And these years, 2 of these years, I believe, he lost his starting quarterback for the season, including his best season in Moscow last year. And if you remember, which I'm sure you probably do not, folks, but last year's team had Oregon on the ropes in Eugene, week 1.
Yeah.
That was a 17-14 game in the fourth quarter. Oregon ended up winning 24-14. That was a 17-14 game on a team that was the 1 seed in the college football playoffs. After losing your best quarterback, a guy that was a finalist to win the Walter Payton Award, in game 1, he started a freshman quarterback, and they almost knocked off the Oregon Ducks. They did knock off Wyoming, a Mountain West team, the very next week in Laramie, which is a very tough place to play, 17-14. This hire, I do think, is a slam dunk. I think, like, considering you lost Mendenhall, I thought, man, I don't know who's going to want that job because, Mendenhall, why is he leaving after 1 year? There's a lot of red flags on the previous hires, but man, do I love this hire. Being able to land Jason Eck. Now, my only fear is this. If he wins this year, Luke Fickell could be fired at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And Barry Alvarez is their athletic director. So it's like, you need to root. You almost need to lose this year, or you need to root for Wisconsin to win. But I'm telling you this, man, I think this is a fantastic hire considering the hand they were dealt. I almost think this is like the best case scenario. How about you?
Yes, I love the Eck hire, and I'm just digging a little bit more. Since 2000, I know they were at the FBS level for a little bit. Idaho was 74-204. Like, the program was not rolling at all. You read off their FCS years. And to go deeper into it, he got plenty Mountain West tryouts. They beat Nevada the year before 33-6 in week 2. So he smacked them at Idaho. And then his first game, they went to Pullman and only lost by a touchdown.
Dude, so, I watched that game. They were up a lot of that game, man. They were up a lot of that game.
And that was Cam Ward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this, I know it sucks losing Mendenhall after 1 year, but I mean, you look at what Eck did back-to-back year or 3 straight years. They got better every single year at Idaho. He was with South Dakota State before that, and they were winning at a high level, knocking on the door of winning. They did win a championship, and then Montana State. So he's been around winning for about the last 20 years now. And I think him turning around Idaho as quickly as he did, as consistent as they did, they're going to run the ball. I can tell you that, because those offensive line coaches love running that ball.
And let me tell you, like, I actually think they're one of the most interesting teams in college football this year. Look, I love the Utah State thing, but I know Mendenhall, and I kind of just know he's going to do well. I'm fascinated by this one because he brought in like 10 of his Idaho transfers with him. But then he went out, he basically got like an all-star FCS team. Scottry Humphrey, who was the starting running back of Montana State, comes in. Like I said, a bunch of his Idaho guys. He gets Frankie Edwards, a corner from Weber that was good. Albert Nunes, a safety from Northern Iowa. That's a solid program in the FCS. He basically went out. And this is what, yeah, exactly. I mean, he added a few P5 transfers, but like 3 or 4, but like a lot of this roster is a FCS like all-star team. So it's going to be fascinating to see, because Mendenhall obviously knows talent well. So he built up the culture a little bit there in his 1 year there. He's going to walk into that and he's bringing a bunch of FCS guys that won at their locations. Idaho, Weber, Montana State, South Dakota State. These are programs that are used to winning. So I'm fascinated by this move. I'm fascinated to see how fast it can work, if it's going to work. But I tend to think, a lot of people I feel like your average take is like, well, there's a big gap between FCS and FBS. I'm like, well, your good FCS teams. It's almost like we say with college basketball. Like, I think your good FCS teams are somewhere between, if I had to power rank these things, like 20 and 50, as far as if you take the top 10 FCS teams, I think you could scatter them in there in that level. I mean, you saw it last year. Yeah. Colorado was a 9-win team a year ago and they needed everything they could get to survive North Dakota State. And I think North Dakota State had before that won 6 or 7 in a row against the FBS. So I'm fascinated by this hire, man. I think it's one of the more interesting things heading into this college football season. And then you look at the schedule. I don't want to get too, we have our New Mexico preview to do in the summer months, but obviously they're at Michigan week 1. That's not fun, but that's not fun.
He gets Bengals again. Here we go.
Yeah, you get Idaho State. You still stick it to little brother over there at Pocatello. Cody Hawkins, the head coach there, the former Colorado Buffaloes quarterback and son of Dan Hawkins. Then you're at UCLA. Nico. Hey, Nico. Watch out, buddy. Watch out. That
against the finesse guys here.
Then you get the Rio Grande rivalry, which I love. Goes back a long ways to the 1800s against New Mexico State there in Albuquerque. Then at San Jose State. Then at Boise. It's a tough back-to-back away there. Then home to Nevada. Home to Utah State. That game, I'll tell you, man, that knowing the animosity, I think that the Lobo fans felt, they got really excited in the 1 year with Mendenhall. And I'm telling you that's going to be one I have that one circled. I have to watch that one. God's eye, the 8 TV setup, that audio will be on for that one. At UNLV, home to Colorado State, at Air Force, home to San Diego State. It's a ball buster of a schedule within the conference. You don't get Wyoming, I mean, that's really the only one I'd hit. I'd even personally, I'd want Fresno if I wanted to, because it's Entz's first year. You probably want to hit the ground catching them early. That's not available, but what do you think? Do you think they could get to a bowl? Maybe this is one of the more interesting teams in college football, just because I don't know that I've ever seen someone take an all-star team in the FCS and just come down to the FBS. And there's a chance this could be a bowl team. I actually think you look at this and you say, yeah, they're probably going to win 3 games, right? I would say the favorite against Idaho State, favorite against New Mexico State. Maybe they pull an upset somewhere along the way against another school. But then you're like, man, all these dudes that he brings in, they won and they've been a part of winning institutions for a while.
And he has too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of those FCS guys have chips on their shoulder, man, where they're just like, hey, fuck you. I wasn't recruited in the FBS. So I kind of love, this just happening in the sport. I think it makes, we just saw Drake in college basketball take a whole D2 team. They hadn't won a tournament game since the 1970s. They got it done, won a tournament game this year. Am I crazy to think maybe just sprinkle? Just a little sprinkle?
I don't know if they can win the league, but I'll probably have them going 6-6. I don't
look, Boise is so good, but I'm just saying this.
Boise minus 130 to win the league because they're so damn good.
But they lose G&T. They lose G&T, and I think the league's gotten better. The league's gotten better.
They'll have some other dude.
I'm sure they will, but I'm just saying, I've never seen it where in all my years of covering fucking college football, where it just you just went and plucked. How about this? We're about to have the NFL draft going on. Cam Ward is going to be potentially the first pick of the draft. This is a guy that was at Incarnate Word. Shador Sanders was at Jackson State. Now I know Shador was actually a high recruit. He could have gone to an FBS school, but Cam Scadaboo wasn't. Right? These FCS gems have been really, really good lately coming up to the FBS, taking an all-star team in a way of this. I think it's fascinating. I think it's they could be 2-10. That to me, they also could be 9-3. Just because I just wonder how if you come in and you like those FCS guys are good.
I'd be
They're
shocked.
proven.
I'd be shocked. I think they're closer to 9-3 than 2-10. I think I value the FCS. I mean, we saw it. Montana State beat New Mexico last year. New Mexico wasn't a bad team. North Dakota State went all the way to Boulder and took them to the wire. South Dakota State every year plays in their games. And then Idaho, coached by Eck, took Oregon to the wire.
That's
Oregon.
what I'm saying, man. I think the team, and that was you look at last season, they lost 4 games in the FCS, but like they had their starting quarterback get injured. Yeah. So like they were deep. I think the second string actually missed a game or 2 as well, but I don't know. I think this is I'm just going to say this. I find the Rice Owls, which we'll talk about later in the next week or so, and I find New Mexico to be 2 of the most interesting teams in all of college football. A lot of podcasts that cover college football say they cover college football, but that, like, to me, New Mexico and Rice, I think, are 2 of the most interesting teams in the whole fucking sport. I'll put them right there with Alabama in year 2 of Kalen DeBoer or whatever. Like I find those 2 teams fascinating this year. Overall, I think the hire is a slam dunk, but my only fear and why I don't want to give it an A+ is what if he's only there a year?
Yeah, then he goes to Wisconsin, and he's his offensive coordinator is following him from Idaho. His defensive coordinator was the co-DC at Memphis too, Nowinski. So yeah, I mean, I'll give it a B+ right now, A- considering what the hand was dealt. I'm excited, man. I can't remember the Mountain West floor being this high.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's
they don't have that many bad teams anymore.
So and by the way, I saw Giovanni McCoy hit the portal. Giovanni McCoy was with Idaho his first 2 years. He was the guy that was the Jerry Rice Award winner and almost won like the best player. So I mean, like Big Sky Freshman of the Year. He was at Oregon State last year, and at Oregon State he did struggle, just 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But he's in the portal. I would not be surprised if he ended up at New Mexico, knowing that continuity with the OC and the head coach there. Keep an eye on that too. Yeah, I think this is I think it's an A personally, considering the hand you're done. I know we're saying that a lot, I feel like, over the past couple episodes, but I just feel like this is a really good hire. I can't say the same about every single school. We will get to those. But I really like this one. I think it's going to work out. I hope he's there long term. That's my only fear. Is if he goes 6-6, 7-5 or something, I think Barry Alvarez still might say, "Hey, what's up, man?"
Yeah. He's an alum, and he was a part of that those fun teams at Wisconsin.
And he was on his staff for 2 years or 3 years. So like, there's a lot of tie-ins there. So
and they went all that spread dairy raid stuff. They may want to get back to playing some smash mouth football and hitting people in the mouth again. So yeah, I mean, if he rips off like a 8-4, 9-3, he'd be right there up to Madison.
That's what I'm saying. They'll be calling him up, man. Dangerous times. But either way, I'm fascinated. And you're right. Back to what you were saying before, man. I breaking down the Mountain West, I was like, this is the best I ever remember the football conference. Like it's a shame we get it for one more year. But damn, I don't like Salvell is a Craig Bowl guy too at Wyoming. He sucked in year 1. But to me, if you're on Craig Bohl's staff, normally you're a good football coach. So that's the only unknown right now. Every other coach, I'm like, this is the best it's ever been, this conference.
Yeah.
Fascinating times. We're going to be here for all of it, folks. We have a college basketball experience coming up next. So we're going to go through all the coaching hires over there on the college basketball experience. Make sure you subscribe. We'll be talking more New Mexico. And surprisingly, not Utah State this year. Yeah, for college football, we're here all year. Talk college football year round. So check it out. Give us a follow on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Also, youtube.com/the college experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. And I if you're listening to this on the audio side, highly recommend the visual because you get the slides. You get to see everything. It always looks better that way Moneyline Max on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac. Also check out his other show, the Ryan and Rush Show, for any West Virginia fans out there. I'm on Twitter at TheColBD. And yeah, look forward to talking about all these other teams. See you in a few minutes on the College Basketball Experience. But until then, if you're just a football head, be back Monday talking college football action. Till next time, this is the College Football Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot.